And we're live. Gen morning, and hello everyone tuning in from around the world and on X. My name is Tony. I'm the head of content at community at GenLayer Labs. And today I have with me David, who is the CEO of the GenLayer Foundation, Harish, who is the lead developer relations at Gaia, and Anna, who is our BD manager. So welcome, guys. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
It's a special day. We have just released our partnership announcement with Gaia Network. I think there's a lot to discuss. There's some personal story behind that, right? But before we go into that, I'd just like to summarize what GenLayer is. GenLayer is a AI-powered distributed ledger and digital decision maker. We are integrating LLMs, AI models at the consensus layer of our distributed ledger, which enables trustless and real-time resolutions for decentralized applications and AI agents. We're going to talk a lot about GenLayer and Gaia, the partnership today. So, I don't want to take too much time. One information for everyone tuning in here. As with every live stream, we're going to have a POAP mint at the very end of the session, which you can use for the community progression system. You can download, if you haven't yet, download the POAP Home app and mint the POAP at the very end. I'm going to share a secret passkey, which you can then just simply type in and mint the POAP in roughly 40 minutes. Okay. Without further ado, guys, again, happy to have you here. Happy to have all of our communities here. Let's start with the basics, actually. What is GenLayer building and what is Gaia building in a sentence or two? And Harish, if you want to start with what Gaia is building.
Sure. Happy to go first and also happy to be here chatting with this amazing panel today. At Gaia, we are a decentralized open source AI framework that essentially lets anybody, individuals, enterprises, or knowledge holders to be able to build, scale, launch their own AI agents. What we have is a very composable architecture where builders or developers, whoever is launching these AI agents, can bring any model that they like that is open source, customize it, provide it their own knowledge base so that it doesn't hallucinate as much in the case of black box AI, but be able to fine tune it to a level where they are satisfied with the responses and essentially launch them and scale them. That's what Gaia is. Every Gaia node that individuals launch also comes with an OpenAI compatible API, which means if you're using OpenAI today, you can just replace it with your node URL. It's as simple as that. Just 3 steps, simple architecture, easy to customize and build.
Amazing. Thanks, Harish. David, do you want to continue what GenLayer is building?
Yeah. Well, like you already explained, in layer, probably a lot of people here already know it, but I'm here also to introduce a little bit the foundation that was already announced 1 week ago, more or less. It's pretty new. No, but our purpose on the foundation would be to enhance ecosystem. We have just announced a few days ago that we will start with grants, with our grants program, that we will give a very important part of the allocation of gens to the community that they start building with us or researching and all that steps. You have like the link and everything on our website that it's like in genlayer.foundation/grants. And please take a look. But yeah, I will introduce a little bit again what are we doing. But as you already explained, we're a platform for trustless decision making. Mainly, we are a protocol that helps entities resolve disputes and enforce digital contracts. And that's why, like, it's so cool this collaboration with Gaia, because we are completely two different pieces that are mandatory in order to build anything regarding this future of AI agents that it's coming. Gaia more centered on the inference or anything about like hosting your own models and like and using them, no, like you can do both parts. And in our part, what we are doing with Gaia Nowadays, it's like the inference part, no? Like anybody that wants to run a node on Gen Layer will be able to use Gaia as a provider. But also in the future, like our idea is to start doing things about all the part of disputes, no? Our thesis in Gen Layer is that in this future that it's coming, like we will require a kind of court of the internet, no, that when Asians start having problems in the future and like disputes go up, no, it starts emerging, they won't go to spend, I don't know, 1 year or whatever and go to a lawyer and pay thousands of euros on legal fees and think about what is their jurisdiction and all that stuff. That's why like we need a kind of court of the internet, and this is what Jetlayer is doing. And also this collaboration feels more important for me. I already tweeted about that a couple of days ago, but both, well, also with you, Harish, like we didn't know us personally, but Harish was also involved. But I personally like was very close with Matt, the CEO of Gaia, and also Ratish, that leads like DevRels, because like my previous company like started in San Francisco in California, and they were one of the key pieces that helped me with the accelerator program to kick it off. Then that's for me, it's not like, okay, that we have found a random partner out there or whatever. Not only the technology, it's amazing and you can check it, but also on the personal side, I trust them a lot because like it has been a relationship that has lasted more than 8 years. And for me, this is very important because like we are not yet on this 100%, I would say, AI era, and we're still humans, and the human part is very, very important. And that's why like I'm super excited for that. I don't want to talk more, but thank you so much, Harish, for making this possible. Mm.
Well, amazing. Yeah, I've actually read your post as well. I didn't know about it, right? Like internally, I don't know how it was for you, Anna. I just, kind of. I mean, you've been involved more in that. Maybe you can actually share about, how this came together when you got in touch with David, and then how you guys kind of sealed the deal on this and make this partnership possible.
Yeah, hello everyone. Super nice to be here. Thank you so much, Tony, for putting this together. And yeah, like it has been an absolute pleasure to work with the Gaia team. So you guys started the conversation, like absolutely love this story. And then from the partnership side, and we have been working again very closely with Gaia's team, with Mills, to bring together, of course, the sub process where we chat about the specifics of the partnerships. We go through a legal document that's important for the partnership, of course, and then we work in an announcement, which is basically what you guys see, like the final product you guys see in both of our social media and the blog post. So yeah, it's a combination of work between all the team, but yeah, it has been amazing, has been a blast. I'm very excited about the future of this partnership. I know we are starting with the Inference, and I don't want to talk about what's coming next in the conversation, but I'm really looking forward to what people are going to build and what we are going to build based on what we are creating right now. So yeah, I know there's going to be tons of pretty exciting announcement coming from today. But yeah, also just to mention, if you guys are going to be in ETC, I know both of Gaia and Genlay are hosting events on the 1st and on the 2nd. So yeah, please go check out our profiles if you guys are there, and DM us to get an invite.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Anna. Thanks. So the GenLayer team as well as the Gaia team are going to be at EFCC. Anna, could you drop the link in the chat and I'll make sure to pin it so that people can find the events, actually. That would be amazing.
I'll drop both events.
Yeah, amazing. Cool. So if everyone's around, and actually we also have to announce the winner of our EFCC giveaway yet. So watch out. That's going to happen very soon. Okay. Well, interesting story, David, that you kind of collaborated with the Gaia team before already. Obviously, that's also a huge trust indicator. When you had these conversations, like looking into the integration and looking at prospective use cases, was it more like, okay, we see a gap in GenLayer, we see a gap in Gaia that this partnership could erase? Or was it more like, oh well, actually Gaia with the inference on the edge could be something that is an amazing fit to GenLayer and to our mission of decentralizing the whole stack?
Yeah, like conversations started back on token 2049 in Dubai. That it's like where I reconnected after a lot of years with Ratish, and there like we started like talking about this potential collaboration. Of course, like on both sides, we like it was difficult regarding pipeline because like both pipelines, like you can see it on both Twitter accounts, X accounts. Like we are announcing a lot of new things like during the last weeks and probably during the following ones. Then of course this personal relationship make it more easy to say, okay, like we don't need to do some kind of due diligence about if this is like these people will do good things or not. Like we only need to do like the technological part, that it was enough. Luckily it was pretty easy because, as Harish has mentioned, like Gaia it's very well documented. Like you can check everything on their website, but it was very easy at our end. And yes, specifically, if you run one of our nodes that, as we announced also some days ago, we publicly announced like the first testnet that we call Asimov, no, and you can run it with any model, no, and you can run it with models like OpenAI or whatever. But it's true that on this DNA, no, that we have, like we want to enable at least people to be able to do things in a decentralized way, like, and don't need to trust on a centralized model or whatever, like as it could be OpenAI, for example. And that's why, like, since day one, when I started talking with Ratish, in that case, it was obvious that we wanted this collaboration to happen. Of course, as Ana Maria mentioned, and I have briefly mentioned also, like the idea is to do many more things together in the future, but we wanted to start with this first step that it's big enough. And like the cool thing is that, as I said, this has just started because the first testnet, the Asimov one, it's not even powered by LLMs or it will be the second one that we will announce in weeks if everything goes as expected. But and then like this was the perfect momentum because it was not that, okay, it's too late or like whatever. No, it's like our testnet was not even powered yet by these models, and then it was the perfect momentum to start announcing to our validators and community that whenever they need to start spinning off their nodes, they can already have time to implement the technology that Gaia has built. Yeah.
At this point, I think, Harish, it's also important to explain, like, and I think you have a good overview of that. Like, why is it even important when we're talking about AI? Like, we've had, why do we need decentralized AI? Like, why is it important? Do we need it, cloud run based? Like, how does it work, and where do you guys come into play when we're talking about AI?
Yeah, sure. I think the real reason of decentralized AI is, for us at least, what we value is data sovereignty, where we believe that anybody who has knowledge, who has some form of data, or even individuals, right, on our social accounts, we hold a lot of data, right? I think giving power back to the users, I think, is very crucial in today's day of AI, where we all know the black box AIs are all trained with all the data that is available on the internet. Data is the oil is the most common terminology that we hear these days. Pretty much everywhere, everybody says it. But the real value comes when, let's say, I, as an individual, assume I'm a researcher, right? Or assume I'm a professor. I have my own style of teaching my students, or I have my own style of doing this research. If I am able to convert this style into an agent, right, or be able to contribute this inference for my students to be able to consume and learn beyond just the classroom environment, in the case of the professor example, right, I think that gives more power and also lesser hallucinations, and also you can attach your own custom knowledge base, like I was saying, right. I think that whole idea of giving back control to the users is where Gaia essentially was born from, right? And when we say decentralized AI or running local inference, what I really mean is you are able to run all of this from your machines that you own, right, or you control. It can be a laptop, it can be a Raspberry Pi, it can be your mobile phone, or it can be an instance that you rent on a GPU, or in this case, it can be on GenLayer's GenVM, right? That way you know how your model is performing instead of trusting one API or one call, right? And decentralized AI also allows you to bring any model, right, any open source model, because multiple of these open source models that are available today solve really specific use cases, and that becomes very important when you are building for a specific problem, right? That way you have control over which model should I pick. If I'm doing code generation, I'd pick a model that is really good in generating code. I would rather not use a model that is trained on video generation or text generation, which is not much relevant for me, right, in my specific use case. I think that's where the power goes back to the users, and that's how decentralized AI helps you consume multiple inferences from multiple models and build applications on top of this.
So for the users who are currently watching from home, do you can you explain what it means to run a model locally, and like what do I need for that? Could I just take my laptop as I have it here in my hand right now and just do that? Like, would it also mean that I could immediately, when I do this through Gaia, also plug in and participate in GenLayer's optimistic democracy consensus? Like, how does it work?
Absolutely, you're on point, right? I think today, as of today, you could do what you just mentioned, which is install our CLI and then run the initialize command, and you're good to go. You have a URL, you have a node that has a wallet address, which also means your agent can do autonomous on-chain transactions. All of this running on my machine only. I'm not uploading this somewhere or waiting for it to load, right? That is also possible if you prefer that way, but you can run it locally. But for the Windows users, I don't hate Windows, but you will need WSL. We don't support Windows yet because I don't want you all to come back at me and say, "Oh, you said you can run it on any laptop, but it doesn't work on Windows." But you need Windows subsystem for Linux to be able to do that. But it's plug and play, right? You can do it in under 10 minutes. If you choose a model that is 70 billion or more than that, it will take the appropriate amount of time for the model to download. That's the only catch. But the key always lies, especially when you are building your own agent or running a node on Gaia, is to be able to structure the data that you have. Otherwise, you're just running a model. That's all, right? If you structure the data and create vector embeddings for it and build the RAG pipeline, which is already available, all you have to do is structure the data and convert it into embeddings and put it in your node, and it will start responding from that knowledge instead of the pre-trained knowledge that the models usually come with. So it's plug and play in under 15 minutes. And I've made a bunch of videos on how you should be able to do this. So check out on the YouTube or one of our Twitter handles. So yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Harish. Looking at this, why is it so important to have edge-based inference in GenLayer's optimistic democracy consensus? And before either David or Anna, whoever wants to answer this question, before we go into that, why is it important to have multiple, let's call them providers, in the first place?
Maybe Anna?
Whoever wants to go.
I don't know if Anna is hearing.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Mainly this it's very aligned with what Harish has said about data sovereignty. It's like on the both sides. Like, first of all, we want to offer people both centralized and decentralized solutions, because the idea is not to, depending on the use case, you could want a completely different thing. At the beginning, it is true that the nodes that power our consensus that you just mentioned, probably they will run only one model. They will be able to choose what model they want, but probably they will use only one. But it is true that as our ecosystem evolves, nodes could start routing and deciding, each of a smart contract, if they resolve it with a specific model. Because maybe if you see that you always receive questions from the same contract, and this contract talks about politics, maybe you want to respond to these questions with a model that is especially trained with things regarding politics, no? And being said that, this is what we believe that it's super interesting about Gaia, no? That like that in a near future, or they already have it, but each time there will be more and more specialized nodes, because anybody that has knowledge about the topic, like they can and upload it, and you can simply put the URL and start using that. No, and that's why, like for example, probably if you want to start using powering a node, it makes a lot of sense to start using a generalist model or whatever and using an OpenAI thing. But both, if you're, as I said, DNA or your vision or whatever, it's like about, okay, I don't want to use a centralized model, and only because of that you're going into this direction, or because you want to have like nodes that are especially trained for certain things, for certain smart contracts or whatever, like here it's where Gaia makes completely sense. And this makes me very happy, because like in a lot of cases, normally, I don't know if it happens to you, people that you are hearing us, it would be nice to hear you on comments, but normally a lot of collaborations that we see in Web3 industry sometimes are a little bit bullshit. No, it's like, okay, this collaboration doesn't make any sense. No, but this collaboration makes a ton of sense. No, it's like, okay, it's needed for the future of what we are building. No, like, and this is what that's why, like, when I was talking with Ratish the first days in Token 2049, it was like obvious, like it was 5 minutes. No, it was okay, we know for sure that we will do this. Like, we need to know now how we structure it, how we build it, whatever, but it was completely obvious. No, and I wanted to explain a little bit more, because it's true, like both directions are very interesting for me, like the one that Harish has mentioned, but it's important also to double down in this future of how our consensus will work. No, that a lot of people, of course, don't know about the details of how will work, but it's like as a node, you don't need to only use a single model. And this specialization of models that you will use, like this is something that I believe, or I bet, that Gaia will highlight a lot into, like in the ecosystem, probably will be one of the leaders into that. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question on that. I'm a validator, right? And I run a validator node. How does it work? Do I have to set up multiple nodes to run multiple models? Can I switch between models? Would it be possible to, okay, now for today I'm using GPT. Tomorrow I'm using Llama. Like, how hard is it to seamlessly, plug and play kind of?
Yeah. No, there is, like, the two options are correct. First of all, if you are a professional validator, um, probably, and you have a lot of delegated stake, probably for you would be very interesting to spin up multiple different nodes, because how the staking mechanism works is like the square root of the sum with a small ponderation, but it's like the square root of the sum of the self-stake and the delegated stake. And this means that it's the square root, like you don't want to have everything into the same node. You want to have enough in order to be one of the 1,000 validators that are choose for the optimistic democracy, the consensus, no, mechanism. But at the same time, you don't want to have one that it's like super big, because it's not smart talking about tokenomics. You want to split it into multiple. This is the first thing. Then, if you do this, of course, if you have multiple nodes, maybe you could have each of them with a different model in order to see what is the one that gives a better performance, or quality price is better for you, or whatever. This is the first answer. But at the second time, for a single node, like, you are able to start implementing your own logic in order to say, okay, kind of routing inside the node and saying, okay, like this is my contract, I answer it with this model. This other one, I answer it with this other model. Like, for example, also could be other kind of logics in a future. Like, we don't know also how, like, the nodes will start evolving, and what are the kind of things that they will start doing to optimizing. No, maybe I will say a thing that it's a little bit stupid, but for example, you can even do this like during the mornings. I use OpenAI because I don't know why tokens are cheaper during the mornings, and
Yeah.
during afternoons I use this other one. Or also as a backup. No, this could be interesting. Sometimes we have seen that some LLMs, mainly if they are centralized, they fail to give an answer with like a certain SLA or whatever. No, then you could have this. If after X seconds, like this LLM, this model doesn't answer, I have this backup. No, and all these kind of logics are things that you will be able to do in our system, and here it's where Gaia will play a very important role.
Mm. And I know that you have been involved with Ivan in the gen layer validation, conversations for the validators. Do they, just out of curiosity, do they express or do they actually, disclose to us which models they used before, or like how did conversations go in that way?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's actually just
On,
to give a quick context, like it's actually very interesting that it's a new world for a lot of validators. Like
Yeah.
there's very few who have already been playing around with AI or like run their own models. We of course hope that in the very near future we have validators running their own models, and as David was saying, fine-tuning specific models for specific use cases. But yeah, at the beginning, like that's why we love these types of partnerships, because like the more we can hold hands through this process, like it's very new for every one of us. It's gonna make our life easier, and it's gonna make the collaboration like even easier.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because like we can see in the studio which providers are being used, and I know for a fact that a lot of people actually care about open source. But obviously, as GPT is still the kind of the main model people use, the use of GPT is also very high. I don't know by heart. I don't know the exact numbers. Maybe either David or Anna know. I'm not familiar with the exact numbers, but it's very interesting to see that people, like if you look at it, like second, third, fourth place is open source is very popular. And I personally think that this whole open source decentralized ethos fits very well together. Like if you have it open source decentralized, you'd probably have the biggest and best infrastructure. But obviously, we also realize, that it's a free market. It's a free market for validators, and whoever optimizes for the best output with the least cost is going to, as a validator, also make good, solid money, as we anticipate that there's going to be millions and billions of transactions on GenLayer, solving, dApps, real-time resolutions for AI agents. So, maybe like I'm thinking maybe I should start a validator business now.
you should run at least one on GenLayer. Yeah.
At least one. Okay, so everyone who's listening, David says at least one. That's a safe bet. So I'm probably gonna spin up 5. Okay, amazing. Well, Harish, if we look into the implementation from Gaia nodes into GenLayer, like what are we actually implementing? Is it the Gaia node itself into the optimistic democracy validation structure, or is it the call to the LLM itself?
I think while we are still exploring how to do it, there are multiple ways to do it, like you said, right? I think one is being able to bring in my inference that attaches to my contracts that I'm building
Yeah.
on GenLayer is the straightforward, no-brainer integration. But we have to also remember that blockchain essentially requires more, I think, deterministic responses to be able to successfully complete an operation. But AI is is inherently non-deterministic, right? It's the opposite.
Yeah.
Every time you call the same LLM, it will give you different responses, which may be very close to each other, which may be similar. I think that's where we could look at a much more deeper integration together as partners and see how GenLayer's infrastructure can, gracefully handle these similar responses and take the abstracted out essentially for developers to be able to, not worry about models giving random responses. Then there is also another potential use case, which I'm sure we will explore, is being able to tap into the decentralized AI inference. If I am not able to run a node by myself, here, when I say node, I'm talking about the Gaia node, which essentially runs the AI inference, is can I use the existing AI inference domains that are running on Gaia and build on top of them and build smart contracts that can talk to this LLM and interact and do operations, right? That's the other significant opportunity that is sitting there. Because the reason I bring that up is because today we have, I think, about 680K nodes that are running currently live, and we've already dealt with 9 trillion throughput through all of these nodes combined, right? I think that itself is a significant number for us to ignore, right? Not ignore these public domains that people are running. While people may be running them for the incentives, there are also a significant volume of people who are running really specialized models, right? That can do specific tasks really well. I think that's where the integration will shine much more when it comes to specific use cases, maybe DeFi or on-chain transactions or managing funds for people or building a DAO-based agent and things like that.
What would that mean for the people listening today? If they're like, okay, actually, I would like to validate on GenLayer through Gaia. Are there already some resources that they could go for Gaia and then kind of plug in as a validator to GenLayer? Obviously, for GenLayer there is, right? GenLayer.com/testnet. Our colleague Ivan will get back to you on the validation, and we're working on expanding the validator set. We started, and please correct me if I'm wrong, David, we started with an initial 15 validators, professional validators who have a track record of validating blockchain transactions. But we're going to expand. And I think that the goal for now is to get to a very high number of 1,000 validators to make this network as resilient, as secure as possible. And, as I said before, it's a free market, right? So you decide if you want to use open source, you want to use closed source. How is your validation as a business going to make money? I think that there's so much, like, if I personally think about that, there's so much depth in there. Of how you can make a business as a validator on classic blockchains, but especially on GenLayer, because there's so many like little knobs you can twitches around, can I use this model? Because as David said before, maybe it's cheaper in the morning. Like maybe it's cheaper if I run it locally and my electricity comes from, whatever, hydro energy, like who knows? So back to the point, to the users, can they plug in through, how would the route go? Do they have to set it up first on Gaia, then go back to GenLayer? Like, how would it roughly work? Just a vast outline. Whoever wants to answer this question.
I can quickly go on this one. I know a lot of them are asking code. Guys, folks, I'm also a builder. You have no idea how much each I have to be able to provide you with a lot of examples of how you can bring this together, uh, give you GitHub repos of starter kits and all of that. But I think the straightforward way today to be able to try both these out is run your own inference on Gaia first and see how the model is responding. Play around with the models, bring different models, see which one works best. And then GenLayer already has the universal LLM call that you can do from the studio, right? I think that's where you can bring in your inference and try how it works with the contract itself. That's the straightforward way to integrate today. But I'm sure we'll drop in more demos of how you can do this with multiple models or build complex smart contracts that can do just beyond validation or just beyond getting inference call into the contract.
Yeah. I don't know if any one of you wanted to chime in. If so, please stop me. If I'm looking, and guys, I know that you shot a few questions here in the chat. I'm looking at them right now. I just want to make sure that they are answered in the correct order and that we kind of stick with the topic. And I know sometimes it gets very technical, especially with, if you're looking at these two partnerships. AI inference is still kind of a new topic in the crypto space. There's a lot of ways to do it, right? You have ZK proofs, you have our approach that we think is kind of superior, where you could actually also partially implement ZK proofs for validation. But optimistic democracy, that where you have these LLMs that majority vote on a leader's proposal. And as you said before, Harish, LLMs are non-deterministic. If you ask an LLM what's the weather, obviously the search function, the weather in Berlin like today, it's going to be different than tomorrow, right? You don't get the same output for the same input. That being said, I also think now that we've explored, David's validation, now that we've, kind of how can you get started as a user, going to the question that I've just found here in the chat from Broccoli, and I think that's very important for the users out there listening and for the builders as well. What kind of real-world dApps do you believe will benefit the most from decentralized AI Inference through this partnership? And obviously, we know that a lot of builders come up with their own ideas, but if you guys could tell me, like, Anna, Harish, David, what kind of use case do you like the most? And then, if you want to go into what kind of use case actually makes sense for this partnership, is it more the infrastructure side? Maybe starting with you, David.
Yeah, but like as I briefly mentioned, but I believe that it will be a specialized apps, no, like more generalistic, like maybe they would be able to do it cheaper, like not as an app, because like for them, like as our system works, the ones that runs the models are the validators, no, but the ones that will benefit about like having very good service, no, and of course, like then if we keep doing this, like the fees will be lower or the validators will earn more money. No, it's like this one scenario, but the other scenario it's like a specialized dApps. No, like each time that we start seeing that the nodes start performing better for certain use cases and everything, we will see the ecosystem blooming with more and more specialized use cases, and this is what I see more interesting. Yeah.
Harish.
Yeah, I think I am predominantly from a Web 2 background, right? I still find it hard to, call myself a Web 3 native yet. Eventually, I may become one. But the most common use cases, right? I think one is already available on gen layers, YouTube, and documentation. Of course, prediction markets are a perfect use case for this kind of examples where instead of relying on a human oracle or human information base, you can determine whether a company will meet their carbon emission targets by 2025 using AI, right? An intelligent contract, can query a specialized inference model and be able to give a deterministic value as an output. Then there is insurance claims, is the most common, again, ready to tap into kind of use case where it's not really hard, right? When you think about insurance claims, I think smart contracts by default can add so much value to analyze the documentation or cross reference it with the policies or payout terms and all of that. That's a good use case that I can mention. The last one is also about content moderation, right? I think for decentralized social platforms, right? There are multiple of them, some of them very popular. I think this can become immediately feasible where instead of relying on centralized platforms or centralized AI inference, you could have decentralized AI or DAOs can deploy intelligent contracts where they evaluate content using transparent and community-driven, clear rules and decision-making criteria. These are the top three things I would really jump in and start building on when I'm thinking about these two protocols and partners together.
Well, if we think about content moderation, I think that's a very good keyword right now, right? And I don't know, Anna, if you can give any sneak peek to the people listening here today. I know we've had one sneak peek last week with Ivan and Edgar's. But what is your personal opinion on content moderation?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting how we are basically creating verifiable AI. Like in this case, like Gaia is providing the compute and the model diversity. And then on gen layer, you have this verification and consensus. That's the foundation for verifiable AI. And in terms of like content moderation, I think, can we say the name, Tony? Or is it
I think it's well enough if you just explain what it's about.
Okay. So very exciting things coming soon. But basically, we wanted to bring this verifiable AI to the content moderation, to basically marketing consensus. So you're going to see very exciting things coming. We're going to bring verifiable AI. We're going to bring a way in which you can incentivize your communities in a trustless, very transparent way, no bias. We're going to bring a system in which you can actually identify signaling and not noise. So yeah, I don't know if that's too much information, but yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, I had no idea about any of this that the team is working on. I only mentioned a use case. Didn't know it would become this plug.
Yeah. This is not scripted for everyone watching. It's not scripted that Harish said content moderation. Actually, Harish, if you would have watched the live stream last week, we had a little alpha teaser back last week already. So I think we just have to invite you more to our live streams. Like you're just gonna have to stick around and you'll hear all the alpha coming through. Okay.
That's what's so cool about these types of partnerships, and it's like they make so much sense that like these pieces start like coming together, and then like you see it flowing without any coordination before. It just like makes sense and makes it like super exciting.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to show the next question, which is, I think we've answered all of this, but just to kind of summarize, David, maybe you can answer this with a few words. So it's from Shin. It's how does GenLayer's decentralized inference architecture enable trustless dApps and autonomous agents to verify AI outputs without relying on centralized servers?
Yeah. But GenLayer, it's not per se a decentralized inference architecture, but I will explain. Like, there is two ways to know if the answer of a model is correct. I will say it that way. What you can do is like to build a kind of system using ZK, TLS, or whatever, and then what you would know is that a single model it's answering you an answer that it's correct or at least hasn't been modified. And you could also know that the model that the company is telling that they are running is the one that it is. No, like this would be through a ZK TLS kind of direction. That there is companies like, for example, Layer and other companies, that they are like launching now ZK TLS kind of modules and stuff. And this is super
David.
cool. And yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, because we've heard the word ZK TLS so many times, and I know that it's pretty far-fetched and it's just extending your answer, but could you, or Harish, whoever wants to, just very quickly explain ZK TLS in kind of a nutshell?
Maybe Harish, you want to jump or?
No, go for it. I'll add a quirk at the end once you're done.
Okay, yeah. Like super quickly, like ZK stands for zero knowledge, no? And the part of the TLS, it's about verifying, like on the internet connection and everything, that the answer that you are having, like you could connect like the zero knowledge technology, knowing that like you are certifying more or less, to simplify a lot to what we are saying, that the answer that somebody is giving you, it's correct and it hasn't been modified. This would be a super high level answer of what ZK-TLS is, no? And using a model, a system like ZK-TLS, you could do this. But what is the problem?
But it's verified by a third party as well, right?
You need TLS. Yeah, it would be like the TLS part would be like the kind of, how to say it in English, the notary, no, that it's signing, it's verifying in an external way that this is like correct and true, no? But what is the problem on this? For quasi-deterministic kind of stuff, this is so good. Because, for example, now through this kind of technology, you can connect blockchains to the internet through a model, through an LLM. And for example, for things that are easy to know, For example, how many goals has my football club has scored yesterday? You can tell the agent to go to whatever website about football, and automatically, no, like they could verify this very easily. But imagine for like a case that it's non-deterministic, no, things like it could be almost the wall, it's not black or white, no, it's like almost everything in life, it's not deterministic. But imagine, for example, uh, what text it's better written, no, to say very random example, no, with zktls you could have an answer, and you would know that this answer is verified by a third party, hasn't been modified, the model that we're telling it's the correct one or whatever, but you will only have one model answering you. And as you know, models hallucinate. Models, not all models are good for everything, as we have mentioned. Models sometimes are down. Models like are not perfect. Models like a lot of other stuff. No, and with our technology, like GenLayer, as the consensus, how it works is like you have like thousands of nodes that automatically we pick 5 nodes. One acts as leader. The leader takes a decision, and the other ones agree or disagree through this consensus mechanism, no, that we call equivalence principle, if this is correct or not. If there is if they agree on that on this leader, like the answer is taken as correct, and we open a 30 minutes window of dispute where anybody can dispute. If nobody disputes, this answer is settled on chain. If not, we like add, like in that case it's like where we multiply by 2 and add 1, no, it's 2n plus 1, like instead of 5 we go to 11, and this process repeated, that this is what we call optimistic democracy. By doing this, you don't need to rely on a single answer of a model, but you rely on this consensus of AI agents telling you different stuff, no? And that's like, this is where solutions like Gaia take an important like place, because like, you know, each different node could run a completely different AI model, and then together with our consensus, you can reach a decision that, following this consensus, that it's called, this concept it's called Condorcet jury theorem, no? That it says that if you add multiple juries and the answer of the juries are not correlated, if you start adding more and more juries into the equation, like the answer, the probability of answer correctly, it's higher than 50%. If it's a coin flip, you can predict it, of course, because it's 50 exactly. Then, like, you will tend to arrive to the 100% correctness if you add like these multiple different uncorrelated juries. And that's why, like, here's all where all these pieces come together, and thanks to partners like Gaia, we can have a system that it's reliable and that enables new primitives that until now were not possible with other chains.
Yeah, and that's also to the question that was just dropped in the chat as well, like how do we compete to other AI projects in the crypto space? I think David answered a big portion of that. You can also look it up on our blog post. It's actually from last year, but it's still very accurate, comparing it to zkML and also to other competitors such as BitTensor, and what kind of the pros and cons are of these systems. Okay, I think we've covered a lot. For those of you who are interested, we also have a blog post on this partnership. We are going to be happy to share more information on, usage and everything going on behind the scenes in the coming weeks. As you see, everyone's very excited, at least from the GenLayer team, to work with Gaia. I think from the Gaia team to work with GenLayer as well. So, guys, first of all, thank you very much for taking the time and attending. I think everyone here is more than happy to answer any questions if there are any left. You can all shoot us a DM. We are happy to, help you onboard. And that being said, I also think it's important to have a last CTA. Harish, where can people learn more or check out Gaia, and what can builders or users do right now?
Yeah, I think the first step is go to docs.ganet.ai. I just dropped the link. It should be available for all of you. Go check out how simple it is to be able to run your own inference locally. If you're not able to do so, we also run public nodes, which you can consume inference on and see which model responds in which way. Check out all the nodes that are running, chat with them, see how they work, and then head over to GenLayer and see if you can build up the integration before we do, right? Which is going to be very cool if you're able to bring in an OpenAI compatible API that runs on GenLayer's VM and gives you inference. But yeah, see us at HCC. Don't miss us at HCC if you're heading to HCC. Our teams will be there. Our founders will be there. It's going to be great catching up in person.
Okay, guys, what can well, actually, one part of what people can do in GenLayer right now, I can answer. You can, if you're interested in staying up to date, if you want to join our community, we have an XP point system right now in our Discord. We're also happy to chat with you on our Telegram. You can find all of that information on genlayer.com. You can find the Discord, the X. We're always happy to, have new community members. We have a very vibrant community. I'm pretty sure that everyone will accept you with open arms at GenLayer. And for builders, grants, validators, I think Anna or David can give a short CTA to everyone listening here as well. Whoever wants to start. Anna. David is pointing out.
If you guys are curious about what can be built on GenLayer, what can be built on Gaia, what can be built in the intersection of both, please hit us a DM. As David said, the grants are gonna be coming very soon. And yeah, I'm sure that both teams are gonna be absolutely happy to help in any part of the process. So yeah, we're open to help you guys build.
Here's the link. Validation, apply here, GenLayer Foundation, just looking up the URL, genlayer.foundation/grants. If you're a builder, I'm also going to drop the link here. You can apply for a grant. You can also try out our studio.genlayer.com. That's been around for a while now. And again, also join our community. One last thing left, because otherwise I'm going to have problems with our community, is the POAP code that you can mint. So I'm going to share the secret POAP passkey in the chat and pin it here. It's Asimov minus rules. So with the POAP passkey, Asimov minus rules, you can mint your POAP now. First come, first serve for the live streams. As you know, if you want to get your POAP secured, for sure, you have to join our AMAs on Mondays, 2 p.m. UTC, GenLayer Discord, which you can find on the website again. Team, thank you very much. Harish, thank you very much for taking the time. Anna, thanks for taking the time. David as well. It's been a pleasure. Oh, Anna has minted her POAP. Amazing. I actually never have time to mint those because I always have to moderate those things, and then I never mint that. I think I should just, open the window for only me so I can mint one more POAP each time.
You should. Yeah. Absolute pleasure being here, folks. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Harish. Let's talk. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye bye.
Thank you.